And now we're going to focus on the difference between excellence and perfection. So we talked about this, how when we see the word excellence, we know that that word excel is in there. And when we compare this to the word perfection, a lot of times we also notice the word perfect inside of perfection. Now, I want to be really clear. We mentioned about how mediocrity is not where we want to live. It's not where we want to be. We talked about excellence, and we talked about excellence as a lifestyle. So excellence, as we discussed, is really to exceed the expectation. Okay? And so this is, again, a very, very important definition, right? Because once we understand what the expectation is, the door opens for excellence to be created. Now, when we talk about perfection, we have to introduce a word called flawless, okay? And flawless means basically to have no flaws, right? So again, a lot of times when we start to look at this, we can define excellence as a lifestyle. And many times we can see perfection as a goal. So again, this is a way we want to live, and perfection is a goal, all right? So now, a lot of times I know when we think about perfection, so we've kind of defined the difference between the two, because I can have flaws, right, and still exceed your expectation. So, you know, I could be striving to do something specifically, whether it is something I'm trying to complete, something I'm trying to do, something that I want to accomplish, and the expectation is at level 5, and I go up to level 7. Now, I did that with some flaws, but I was able to arise higher than the level that you expected, which is where excellence is born, all right? But excellence can contain flaws. So this is important to understand the difference. Perfection is flawless, okay? So this is the difference between excellence and perfection. We want to have a lifestyle of excellence that can lead us to the goal of perfection. Now, again, when we talk about perfection, I know we have this issue of saying, well, you know, can anything be perfect, right? Anything. Can anything be perfect? So even as I'm talking to you now, I could say, you know, did I ever stutter, or did I ever say a word wrong, right? What does perfection mean, right? So one thing that I want to introduce you to, I want to move from flawless to flawlist. I want you to see the difference here, right? So this is really critical, because if I can understand and I can begin to define flaws, what does the flaws actually mean for me given this situation? And I could say I'm giving a presentation. I could say I'm doing something in business, right? I can say there's a conversation I want to have with someone. And I define what those flaws mean to me. Like, I could say, here's the things that I don't want to happen. And if I want to make sure I don't do this, I don't do that, and I don't do this in this situation. Or I'm going to actually go and try to achieve something specific. And, you know, let's say if I'm trying to work out, and I say I'm going to work out, and a flaw to me is to is if I at any time do not achieve the level of reps that I had planned to do. If I define that as my flaw for each part of my exercise, every time I get through the exercise and I do not you know, make sure that I achieve that goal and don't actually have that flaw, I was perfect in my definition of perfection, right? So the thing that we introduce here is that perfection can be defined. So defining perfection. So we know what the general sense of the word perfection means, and we know, and I understand the concept of feeling like, well, who can be perfect? But I want to open your mind to a bigger way of thinking, that we want to live here in excellence. We want that to be a lifestyle. We want to always know what is expected and then exceed that expectation. That's where we live. Now, as we live in excellence, in situations, we can also start to define perfection differently as well and move from flawless to a flawless and know what, for me, perfection means, so that in this situation, what is a flaw? And if I can make sure those flaws don't happen, I've defined perfection for me in that situation, that circumstance, and that goal. Thank you for watching You Are a CEO on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel to receive notifications, and for complete episodes, download our You Are a CEO app.